This week's Piltch Point with Avram Piltch is proudly powered by Monster Products. The headphones on my head right now, the Monster Elements, available in on-ear, over-ear, and in-ear styles. But obviously these aren't the only headphones available. They offer a wide range of wired and wireless headphones and, of course, Bluetooth speakers. Everything from the tiny little hotshot to the full-size monster blaster and everything in between. And, of course, all of the cables to connect these devices and the other devices in your life, whether it be your phone to your car, your computer to the power. Monster Products has something for everybody, and the outlet store is a great way to get some great deals on either damaged products or refurbs, things like that. You can save, in some cases, 50% or more. And to find out about all of those deals and all the products that are available, you can go to PLUGHITZlive.com/monster. And of course, that music means that it's time for the Piltch Point with online editorial director of Laptop Magazine and Tom's Guide, Avram Piltch. Avram, what have you got for us this week? You're going to help us avoid being taken advantage of, right?
Yes. So, obviously, this week I put out an article called "Laptop Starting Prices Are a Joke. Don't Be the Punchline," and it's on laptopmag.com, and I invite everyone to read it. So, what I talked about is something that is not new, but I think is important for people to keep in mind, whether they're buying a laptop or buying a desktop PC. I guess those are the two main categories where this is an issue. Is when you do your research, when you're shopping online, when you're going to vendor websites, when you're reading reviews, you'll often see the starting price of a product, and it may not be labeled as, quote, starting price. It may be from this price. Well, what does that mean? It means that you can buy that product at that price, but the version of it that you will get could very well be not, awful. Could very well be not the experience that you're expecting. So, you take the world of cars, for example. Imagine if you're watching TV and there's a car commercial, comes on, Jeep Wrangler, $18,000, and look, there's videos of it climbing mountains and everything, and people doing whatever. Then you go to the dealership and you're ready to buy it, and like, hey, okay, so where's the $18,000 one? Well, we have an $18,000 one over here, but by the way, I'm making up the price of Jeep because I don't know how much a Jeep Wrangler actually costs. But here it is, but it doesn't have four-wheel drive. Here it is, but it doesn't have air conditioning or radio. But, we have one for you. No one would want it.
Right.
No sane person would want it. I mean, you don't go to buy a Jeep with two-wheel drive, usually. You're average. So you don't want a car without air conditioning in this day and age. So, in the world of tech, it's the same thing. We were talking, listen, it doesn't say don't buy these things. Just know what you're getting into so you know how much you're really going to pay. Mm-hmm. So, we like the Surface Pro a lot. However, it's really hard to recommend that people buy the $799 starting configuration of the Surface Pro tablet. For that $799, you don't get the keyboard. You get a Core M3 processor and you get 4 gigs of RAM. I think most people, when they're going and they want a tablet that can replace their laptop, they want the keyboard. Mm-hmm. That's another $129. For when you're spending over $800, you want some minimally good performance, which means you want at least 8 gigabytes of RAM and you want at least a Core i5 processor. So by the time you take this $799 Surface Pro and you configure it with minimally good specs, such as a Core i5 processor, 8 gigs of RAM, and a 256 gig SSD, and you add a keyboard, it's $1,429,
Mm-hmm.
79% more than the starting price.
Right.
Now, I'm not just picking on, I don't want to be picking on Microsoft here. There's a lot, it's just happening all across the industry. Dell, for example, we were on here last week with the XPS 13, which again, we love. Wonderful laptop. Our favorite consumer laptop on Laptop Mag, I should say. But the starting price, if you go to their website, if you read around the internet, is from $799. What do you get for $799? You get a Core i3 processor, 4 gigs of RAM, and 128 gig SSD. A Core i3 processor on an $800 laptop? That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's bargain budget. It's like you got a Porsche with a 3-cylinder engine inside. But hey, you can fool everyone because you got the Porsche outside.
Right.
So you have to be careful to actually get this with, so here's what we consider minimally good specs. The minimum good configuration for a premium computer, whether it's a laptop or a desktop. You got to have Core i5 at least. Core i5 or Core i7 processor. No Core i3 or Core M or, Y series. Core i5 or Core i7 processor. You need to have at least 8 gigabytes of RAM, and you need to have at least 256 gigabyte SSD, and you need to have at least a 1080p display. Those 4 things. It's processor, RAM, storage, display. Now, if you're buying a laptop that's under $600, you got to make some compromises. But if you're buying a premium product that's $800 or more, those are the things you should expect. Those are the things you should get. So if you see a configuration that doesn't have those things, you're going to have to, if you see the starting price of your favorite laptop, read the fine print. Now obviously most people are going to read the fine print, and they're not, hopefully they're going to buy the more expensive model. But, in some ways it can be deceiving because you had your heart set on it when you heard it was $800. You did this research into it, and you start putting it in your shopping cart. You're like, I guess I got to now spend $40 more, but I had my heart set on it since I heard it was $799. I'm going to do it. Well, in the retail game, people call that a bait and switch. I think you just have to know going in that the starting price of things very often is not the model that you want. Usually is not the model that you want. So we have 3 pieces of advice about that. First, always find the minimum good configuration and price that.
Mm-hmm.
Second, if you can't afford the minimum good configuration, because it actually is a lot more than the starting price, you could consider a different laptop. Like, for example, or a different desktop. For example, in the case of the XPS 13, we love it. It's got a beautiful design. But for $700, you can get an Asus ZenBook UX330 UA, which has a Core i5 8 gig and 256, is about the same weight, 13-inch laptop, has a 10-hour battery life, basically a similar type of product, although not as fancily made and not quite as powerful, but $100 less than the minimum than the base configuration. You can get everything you need from this slightly lesser design. So, if you can't afford, don't buy an underpowered configuration just to get a cooler design. Finally, you can look for sales, because very often what the MSRP is on the higher end model comes down over time. So, right now, the Dell XPS 13 that we really like, the one with the Core i7 8th gen, that's $1,249, which is, that's $450 more than the base model. But, coupons, holiday season, there's a good chance that it'll drop a lot lower than that in the near future. So, keep those things in mind. Find out what the minimum good configuration is and price that. Consider a different laptop, or wait for a sale. But, just be mindful when you hear from a price, or it's starting at this price, that's very often not the price that you would really want to pay. That's not. You could pay it, but
it's the
you
price
would be sorry.
It's the price you want to pay, but it's not necessarily the configuration that you want to get.
Right. It's rather not the price. It's not the price you're likely to pay.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I feel really bad for the person who like goes out and thinks, wow, $800 and it's this beautiful laptop, and then I only have 4 gigs of RAM. Why is wait, why am I out of space? Oh, I only have 128 gig SSD. So people really need to be mindful of that, particularly when it comes to things to manufacturers that let you configure to order. This is very true with like business laptops, like the ThinkPads, for example. A lot of I love the ThinkPad T470, great notebook. Is the starting price depending on what day it is, because it's always on sale. That's around somewhere between $750 and $850. The starting base model of that is a 1366 display. Do not buy it with a 1366 display. The cost of upgrading the display, depending on the sale, might be $50 or $70, but you need to do that. So, now my final word on this is that it is a shame that this is even happening, because if manufacturers are looking for a way to say that something is less expensive than maybe it really is, quote unquote, and they're looking to get people in the door, and they ought to have more pride in their offerings. You can't go to a fancy steakhouse and ask for, give me a can you cut the steak in half and charge me half as much? You can't go to, you can't go to McDonald's. Doesn't sell a Big Mac without the special sauce and without the bun, and to cut $1 off the price to say that the starting price of this Big Mac is $3. Guys, have some pride in what you're selling. Don't sell underpowered stuff. If you can't afford to sell, if you can't manufacture it to sell a decent model for $799 that started at $999. Don't, have some pride. Don't sell something that's a poor user experience just to say that you got under a price point or market it. But I'm not going to hold my breath for people to change, for companies to change that. So your best bet is to be an educated consumer and think twice when you see the starting price.
For sure. And I imagine we can find this article at laptopmag.com?
Yes, so you can find it at laptopmag.com, where all of our laptop stuff appears. And, of course, tomsguide.com is where we have all of our stuff on desktops and phones, and our new review of the new mixed reality headset, new Acer mixed reality headset. So check us out.
Fantastic. Well, always appreciate the retail advice and getting to see devices and all the things you always bring to us, Avram.
My pleasure.
And can't wait to see what we talk about next week.